Welcome to the Right Handyman How-To series. In these videos, I will show you some tips and tricks to help you avoid those mistakes that can turn a small project into a large disaster. I'll be your host, Colin, the Right Handyman.
Hey y'all, welcome to another Right Handyman Tips and Tricks. Today we're going to be looking at how to remove dents from a piece of wood. So many of you probably have hardwood floors in your home, and inevitably, if you're like me, you drop things on them. That leads to dents. So what I've done here is I've just got a piece of oak, and you'll see I've got some pretty good dents in it here. And I've got a few that are not quite as bad, so it's going to be a matter of what can we do to fix these? Well, sit tight, and I'll show you how to do this. Alright, so what we want to do here is we're basically going to use just some water and an iron, and we're going to basically make the wood swell in order to get these dents out of there. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put a little bit of water into these dents. And what you're trying to do basically is swell up the wood fibers. So if you just put fill the dent with some water. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to let that sit and just let it soak into the wood. While you're waiting for that to soak in, you could probably heat up your iron. You're going to want a nice hot iron because you're going to want to essentially create steam. Now, you don't want to apply the iron directly to the wood. Doing that, you run the risk of obviously scorching your wood. So what you can do is you get a cloth. I have some paper towel here, and you get it all nice and damp. And you're going to use that to basically create steam and protect your wood from any damage. Okay, so our iron's been going for a few minutes here, so it should be nice and warm. So what we're going to do now is we're basically going to just lay this paper towel over top of the dent, and we're just going to apply the iron. So you can hear it sizzling. That's what we want. We want to create steam. Essentially what this is going to do is water is going to cause these wood fibers to swell and hopefully come back up to their normal level. Now chances are it's going to take more than one steam treatment to make these guys come back, especially if you have a really big dent in here. Smaller dents may not require quite as much effort. If you're not comfortable using paper towel to do this, you can use an old t-shirt or a rag. I'm not too worried about the paper towel catching on fire because I don't plan on just leaving the iron on it forever. So, not to mention the water will help prevent that until it dries out. It looks like we're getting some good steam under there. The water is starting to evaporate, so. I'm going to move this over to these shallower dents here now. Try and work on them a little bit. You can see on these deeper ones here, I have basically dried up the water that I put on there. So we're going to have to do several iterations of this. Just doing the finger test on them there, they feel like they are coming back a bit. Now one downside of this is it's pretty tough to focus the iron and the water on just one little spot here. So what's going to happen is you're going to raise the grain on the unaffected parts a little bit. So you may have to sand down the area when you're finished and refinish it. Alright, let's take a look and see what we got here. So taking a quick look at this here, you can kind of see with one area where it was dented. I don't feel the dent anymore, and I don't feel this one. Obviously these three deeper ones I created are still there, so we're going to have to work on those a little more. So let's keep at it. Alright, we've been ironing this for a little while. How did it turn out? Well, it's improved. That one's definitely still there. That one's still there. That one's not terrible. The good news is these two smaller ones seem to have come out okay. If you have a very shallow dent, this method seems to work. But if you have a very deep dent where perhaps you've damaged the wood fibers like these guys here, the steam method will not give you everything you need. You can definitely see those there. So what you may end up having to do is a little bit of wood filler or wood putty in there and see what that does for you. Now, if you're not a fan of wood filler or wood putty, what you can do is you may still have a small divot in your wood. But what you can do is you just sort of sand it a bit. Blend the edges more or less. You can see now it's definitely blended in much better than it was. One thing to keep in mind is when you're sanding, always sand with the grain. That way any scratches you leave with the sandpaper are going to be blended into the wood grain and you won't see them. So there's still some evidence of the dent I left in there, but I really smacked this thing with a hammer because I wanted to create a big dent. But you can see here that looks pretty good. I mean, to the touch, you can feel a little bit of a dip there. It's smooth now. It's not a sudden hard break in the edge. This one's actually pretty good here. I can't tell that one at all. And of course, these really shallow ones worked quite well. So now, if this was your hardwood floor, you would want to do your best to try and match the finish. Put a little bit of polyurethane on it, and you're good to go. Voila! How to fix a dent in your hardwood flooring. Hey everybody, we're back. So we're going to run a second test here on how to get dents out of wood. And what I've got here is just another piece of oak. And what I've done is I've left part of it unfinished. I left another part here with just a clear coat on it. And then I took a third part and I put an oil stain on it. And then I put a clear coat on top of that. So that's going to be just like a hardwood floor. And the idea behind this is we want to test to see if this steaming method is going to damage the finish. I'm kind of suspecting it will. I've also put, you know, a fairly good dent in it here. There's a much lesser dent there. So I try to do a big dent and a small dent just to sort of see, you know, what is the tolerance of this? What will this thing take? So let's find out what's going on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with just putting some water on all these dents and letting it soak in. And then we're going to run the iron over it and see what happens. So you'll see here I've put some water on there. We're just letting it soak in. What I suspect may be one factor in here is that these clear coat finishes, as well as the oil finish I put on this part with the clear coat, might be a bit water resistant. So if I haven't broken through the oil finish or even the clear coat, then this water may not absorb into the fibers. So this technique may not work, but this will be interesting. You can see here on the unfinished part that the water is soaking in and spreading out. And on these parts here, it's actually still beaded up, which to me suggests that the water is not soaking in. So this is going to be very interesting. So we're still steaming away here. I've been going for about another 5 minutes or so. Now, the good note about this is the heat and steam I applied did not seem to ruin the finish. I have sanded it, so obviously I'd have to re-clear coat it, but it doesn't seem to have wrecked the stain, the color. So if you're careful with this, you can do this on a pre-finished hardwood floor, and at worst, just reapply a little bit of clear coat in the area that you've had to fix. So that's pretty good news. So whether you have raw wood, clear coated wood, or stained wood with a clear coat on it, you can use this method. Do your best to do it locally, keep it to that one area as much as you can, and then that way you don't have a whole lot to fill after that. So there you go, very simple way to get dents out of your hardwood.